There's a place right beneath your feet. You've lived your whole life next to it, yet you know less about it than the moon. It's not outer space, it's the ocean. 71% of Earth's surface is covered in water, but over 95% of it remains untouched. No radar, no light, no data. And in that darkness are things that science refuses to confirm, but also cannot deny. A strange sound echoing from where no life exists. A light shimmering in the pitch black, as if the sea were under a trance. A golden orb with no known origin. Don't look away, because once you stare into the deep, you might find something that'll make you afraid to ever close your eyes again. The Milky Sea, a glow with no source. In 2005, NASA's MODIS satellite captured something unexplainable. A glowing patch of ocean stretching over 15,000 square kilometers, nearly the size of the Netherlands. It wasn't flickering like moonlight. It didn't pulse like boat lights. It was a steady, pale, white glow, holding firm for hours. Sailors who passed through called it a living city, glowing beneath the waves. The phenomenon is now called the Milky Sea. The main theory? Bioluminescent bacteria, specifically Vibrio harveyi, glowing en masse. But here's the issue. Science has never been able to culture bacteria at that volume. Nothing we've grown comes close to producing light visible from space. The glow doesn't blink, doesn't pulse, doesn't emit significant electromagnetic signals. And perhaps most troubling, it tends to happen in waters where no marine life is supposed to survive. Since 1915, there have been over 230 recorded sightings of the Milky Sea, yet no high-resolution video has ever captured it up close. Some believe it's biological territory marking, like fireflies, but on a continental scale. Others think it's military, an underwater bioluminescent camouflage system, part of a secret experiment. But no government has claimed responsibility, and no one's denied it either. So, if the ocean glows on its own, who is it signaling? And if it's a call, then who's listening from the other end? The Golden Orb, found but never identified. In August 2023, a remote-operated submarine gliding off the coast of Alaska came across something strange. At a depth of over 3,000 meters, a golden, dome-shaped object lay on the ocean floor. Perfectly round, smooth, no visible openings. It looked manufactured. Some said it resembled a broken egg sac. Others, a tech shell. It didn't match any known coral, sponge, or biological shell. Scientists dubbed it the Golden Orb. They collected it, analyzed it, cut it open. And what they found inside was even more disturbing. Nothing. No organism, no yolk, no reproductive trace. Just a thin membrane of golden tissue. It wasn't metal, it wasn't plastic, and it wasn't alive. To this day, no laboratory has successfully matched its structure to anything in known taxonomy. If it was a life form, it wasn't like anything that ever evolved here. And if it wasn't, then we may have just picked up trash from someone else's civilization. But here's the real question no scientist could answer. Why was it placed alone, sitting upright, as if it was meant to be seen? To Lapa, the light that thinks for centuries. Polynesian navigators have spoken of a strange phenomenon, a bright line of light that shoots underwater, stretching from island to island, even when no moon is visible, no ship nearby, and no electricity in sight. They call it Lapa. It appears as a faint beam, always fast, always straight, always pointing to land. And here's the mystery. It appears underwater, in the open ocean. To this day, scientists have no consensus on what causes it. No wave reflection accounts for its precision. No bioluminescence explains its speed. No magnetic interference behaves that way in seawater. And yet, when researchers followed to Lapa with sonar, they arrived directly at land. One study in 2014 tried to suggest it might be linked to underwater geological stress points. Seismic light, they called it. But there was one flaw. The light only appears to humans who've been trained to see it. Most modern crews see nothing. Only native navigators, taught by their ancestors, can perceive and follow to Lapa. Which leads to a darker idea. What if the light isn't physical? What if it's cognitive and a kind of bio-coded transmission embedded through generations? And if it's knowledge that only activates in some minds, then who or what embedded it there? The bloop, a sound no one can explain. In 1997, deep in the southern Pacific, NOAA's underwater microphones picked up something strange. It started low, rose rapidly, then vanished. At first, they thought it was ice breaking, then a quake, then maybe a whale. But here's the problem. No whale has a vocal range that massive. No ice quake matches its wave profile. And whatever caused the sound had to be bigger than anything living in recorded history. They named it the Bloop. It lasted for just over a minute, and it came from near Point Nemo, the ocean's most remote spot, farther from land than the ISS's from Earth. It was loud enough to be picked up by hydrophones over 5,000 kilometers apart. If it had happened near a coast, humans might have heard it from land. Scientists tried to dismiss it as ice calving. But then came the part that no one likes to talk about. The bloop happened more than once. Each time, the signature was identical. Same shape, same rise, same drop. But never from the same exact location. It moved. Not like a current, not like seismic waves, like something that had direction. Some believe it's a giant unknown life form. Others, that it's the sound of something artificial testing sonar cloaking. A few even suggest the bloop wasn't calling out. It was responding. But the recordings stop in early 2000s. The raw files, gone from most public databases. The analysts who worked on it, silenced under new roles. Transferred, retired early. The only thing left is a vague NOAA note. Most likely ice. Likely, not confirmed, not explained. So we ask, if you were down there, trying not to be found, would you let your voice slip just once to see who was listening? The ocean circles, geometry with a hidden message. In the 1990s, divers off the coast of Amami, Oshima, Japan, stumbled upon something impossible. On the seabed and 25 meters below the surface were perfect circles, each nearly 2 meters wide, radiating with patterns so symmetrical they look computer-generated. Waves of sand, spokes, spirals, tiny ridges etched with mathematical precision, some with Fibonacci-like curves, others with central chambers that looked hollowed out. At first, it was dismissed as a current anomaly, then as an underwater crop circle hoax, until cameras caught the real sculptor in action. A single male pufferfish. No tools, no team, just one tiny fish flapping his fins for days, rearranging each grain of sand. And here's where it gets weird. The patterns vary, but they're always fractal, always geometrically stable even as currents pass through, always centered perfectly to maximize water flow to a fixed point, almost like they're designed and not for attraction, but transmission. The explanation: it's just a mating ritual, scientists say. The male builds it to impress females. But even then, why such precision? Why geometry so complex? Some architects can't replicate it by hand. One theory suggests the design filters water in a way that protects eggs, but another, quieter theory from marine cognition researchers. What if this isn't impressing mates, but a form of communication? And if it is, who or what are they trying to reach? The ocean is full of signals, but this one is drawn in math by a creature with no higher brain, yet executing art that whispers a code we haven't cracked. So we ask, is this instinct or memory? Ocean floor holes, perfectly aligned, purpose unknown. In July 2022, while conducting a routine dive north of the Azores, NOAA's deep-sea exploration vessel found something it couldn't explain at a depth of over 2,500 meters. On an otherwise flat seabed were holes, not one, but dozens, perfectly spaced in a straight line, each about the same diameter, each surrounded by a subtle disturbance in the sediment, as if something had punched through from beneath. NOAA posted the images publicly, asked for help. Experts guessed, maybe burrowing worms, maybe gas seeps. But then something didn't fit. There was no debris around the holes, no signs of exit material. No camera captured movement in or out. The seabed in that region, too cold, too stable for geological activity. And the holes ended at a dead stop, like a perforated line cut off mid-pattern. Divers tried inserting sensors. Nothing detected. The sediment was soft, untouched, like the holes had been placed. And here's what haunts researchers. This wasn't the first time. Nearly identical formations were found near the Bahamas in 2004 and off the coast of Nova Scotia in 1997. Same size, same spacing, same orientation, separated by thousands of kilometers, but sharing a pattern too deliberate to be coincidence. One fringe hypothesis suggests a mobile structure, a machine possibly, sampling or scanning from below. Another proposes an even stranger idea. What if the ocean floor is part of a larger system, and what we're seeing are access points, not tunnels, not creature homes, but interfaces, the way nerves poke through skin? A few researchers started calling it the stitch line, but no one's published a peer-reviewed paper. Not because the data isn't there, but because no one wants to ask the next question. If something is under the ocean floor and it's reaching up, what happens when it finally breaks through? Zoea Migration, the largest migration you've never seen. Every year, right under our noses, Earth experiences the largest migration of animal life on the planet. But it doesn't happen on land, and it doesn't involve whales or birds. It happens in the ocean's darkest layer, by creatures no bigger than your fingernail. They're called zoea, larval stage crustaceans. Crabs, shrimp, lobsters, still translucent, barely alive. At night, billions rise from the ocean depths, climbing hundreds of meters toward the surface to feed. Before sunrise, they drop back down. A vertical migration so massive, it shifts entire oxygen levels across the sea. Submarines detect it. Satellites measure it, yet most people don't even know it's happening. And here's the part that makes scientists uneasy. They do this in synchrony, across oceans, across hemispheres, in time with moon phases, temperature shifts, even geomagnetic anomalies. How? There's no leader, no signal, no known organ capable of tracking global magnetic variance. Yet, they move as if following instructions embedded into biology or broadcast from somewhere deeper. Some researchers propose a distributed intelligence system, where these organisms operate more like nodes in a biological internet. Others, more fringe, wonder, what if they're not migrating for food, but for collection? What if something beneath the crust is harvesting larvae? Through timing we still don't comprehend? No nets, no predators, just a nightly rise and fall, as if the ocean is breathing in life, then sending it somewhere else. What lives beneath the silence? We speak of space as the final frontier, but the truth is, the deepest unknown is right here on our own planet. We've mapped the surface of Mars, traced winds on Jupiter, but 95% of Earth's oceans still untouched, still resisting us. The ocean doesn't roar, it waits, and in its silence, there are patterns, lights, structures, signals, some biological, some mathematical, some neither. Maybe we weren't meant to find them yet. Maybe we're not supposed to know what lies beneath. Or maybe we've already been watched, already been heard, and the ocean is just the skin between our world and theirs. So the next time you hear the tide, or catch a shimmer in the dark, or feel a pulse when no creature's around, don't ask if something's out there. Ask if it's been here all along. Stay aware, stay awake, and stay curious, because some truths refuse to stay buried.